Well, so I'm Dean Hall, the project lead with DayZ, the open world zombie survival mod. So what we're showing here at Rezzed is our 1.72 update, which is our unreleased update for DayZ. We're also showing, obviously, and giving people a chance to play normal DayZ, but I guess that's the big key thing, is to get people's feedback on that unreleased update. So DayZ basically is an open world zombie survival mod for ArmA II, which is a military shooter. So it gives people the opportunity to sort of live out what they would do if a zombie apocalypse happened. It's pretty brutal, so it's got, you know, concepts like permadeath, PvP is obviously an element that exists pretty heavily in it as well. So 1.72, the aim is to sort of polish the experience a lot more, particularly to deal with the zombies themselves and how they act, because they weren't reacting in the ways that we wanted them to. So the idea was to use the ray tracing a lot more, get the sound working a lot better and things like that. So we really wanted to polish that off, and that was the huge aim with 1.72, as well as server performance itself as well. So the changes that we've done to the zombies alert status really focuses on adding sort of probability and I won't get too much into the technical details of it, but the idea is to make them a lot smoother. So the way you should be playing DayZ, you know, as it mirrors reality. So zombies won't instantly see you if you get in sight range. They'll have to detect you over a period of time. So if you're dashing between one building to another, probably the zombie's not going to see you. And it brings into play factors like whether it's night or day, at what stage of dawn or dusk it is, whether it's overcast or not, whether it's foggy, and all those kind of elements, so that it's a lot more yeah, it feels a lot smoother. That was the experience we wanted. At the moment, you know, you get within view distance, bam, the zombie sees you and starts running after you. So we wanted to make it a lot more smoother and feel a lot more authentic. Well, I think we really need to focus on the group style stuff. We really need to focus on what happens after you've survived the initial first few days. And that update will be I guess the watershed. Because at the moment, even though a lot of people do say it is replayable, really, once you've mastered it, all you can do is attack other players. So we need to add something else in there, the ability for you to build your own base, develop your own group, and expand that playstyle. I see the development of those sort of more esoteric elements, I guess, that whole almost meta game of living beyond. I see that in ArmA is working, like we tried with wire and sandbags, being able to build above ground, but I actually think that if we move below ground and have it so that players can make underground complexes, that will solve a lot of problems. Because at the moment we have problems, you build above ground, you fill the world up very quickly. We have 22,000 people playing the game at any one moment, so they fill the worlds up very quickly. So the idea with going underground is that we're not filling the worlds up so much. It solves some lag issues and things like that. So that's an area that I want to experiment with and see what we can do. So I guess my 5 tips and my overview of the game would be, the first thing is you kind of got to have a plan. That's really the most important thing, and I think that's probably advice the CDC would be happy, you know, anyone giving out. So, you know, in any disaster situation, you've got to have a plan. So you've got to decide what you want to do. Getting a melee weapon early on is pretty achievable and easy to do, and a good thing to do. So finding a hatchet is probably a good place to go at the moment. Then you need to have some strategy for teaming up, and it's kind of hard to do that. Either you do it early on, or you're going to have to do it. It's going to be harder to do later, because when you don't have a weapon, it's a bit easier to team up, particularly with people who also haven't got a weapon. Yeah. And I guess the other thing is to stock up on bandages, and morphine is like gold at the moment. Morphine, even though it's not super rare, you really need it because you can break your leg or arms really easy, and so you need that. The stay away from places are the airfields. So the airfields are military zones, so they have a lot of military weapons and things like morphine and stuff like that, even like 200, like ammo crates that contain just like stacks of ammo. But they also contain a lot of bandits, particularly snipers. Usually there's someone sitting in a control tower or sitting on a hill providing overwatch, while a team of bandits basically spawn camp the loot spawns of airports. So you need to be really careful of that. Sitting out there with their DMR just sniping people. So you need a pretty organised group to be able to take an airfield and to gain a really good plan. So I guess a good story that I've had in DayZ would be when I initially released this last hotfix. So I went into game and I broke my legs really quickly, and I was crawling around the southern airfield, and I heard this guy moving around in the control tower. So I called out to him and cleaned a bunch of zombies because he didn't have any ammunition, and asked him if he had any morphine, and he said he didn't. He needed some food, so we did a food trade, and then he agreed to help me find some morphine. And so we were running off to the nearby, there was a nearby relief camp, so we're heading over there. I was crawling and he was sort of coming with me. Anyway, we got very close and we started taking shots from someone who was firing at us, and we had this brief firefight. I got hit and I was out of bandages, he was out of bandages, so I was like, look, I'm going to die soon. So I gave him all my gear, and then I died and never saw him again. So it was kind of, even though I died, it was sort of a cool little experience. That whole meeting random people and then not seeing them again when you die in that, I guess it adds a whole nother level to each of the interactions you have, and I think that's kind of authentic. Like, you know, you'd run into these people in a disaster and you can't add them on your Facebook or something. These are people that you have fleeting encounters with, and that's something you see in the literature and films and that, and The Walking Dead. You know, these people are running across each other, and maybe their paths are just crossing briefly and then never crossing again. So it adds sort of an intensity to positive interactions that you have that you don't see anywhere later on. You know, you can't just add these people on Facebook. You know, you have this intense reaction. Either it's really bad, or in often cases it's really good and quite fleeting. So the next update that we're looking at releasing is 1.72, which is being trialled here. The aim is to release that early next week, but it's sort of running on, I guess, valve time at the moment. It'll be ready when it's ready. Yeah, we don't want the disaster of the last release. Yeah.